The bitter snow cuts through my skin like countless tiny blades, piercing through the thin, tattered outer garment draped over my body. I lie crumpled on the frozen barren ground, every bone in my body screaming with cold and agony. My throat burns with a scorching, rotten poison fire. And every shallow breath I take rattles harshly in my chest, bringing waves of violent dizziness and suffocation. This is not the modern hospital bed I remembered before my consciousness faded. The second I open my eyes in this new world, I am already dying. Memories flood into my mind in a chaotic, rushing stream in an instant. I am Meng Wan, the legitimate eldest daughter of the Jinghua Marquis Manor. The body I occupy is 16 years old. The original owner of this body had been weak and docile since childhood, easily bullied, and had fallen seriously ill after a long period of covert poisoning. Taking advantage of her fragile condition, my stepmother Lu Ru fabricated a story of a sudden severe illness. Last night, she personally ordered her servants to carry my unconscious body out of the manor in the middle of a raging snowstorm, abandoning me in this remote, uninhabited wilderness to fend for myself. She did not even give me a single warm coat or a morsel of food. The poison she slipped into my medicinal bowl lingers relentlessly in my veins, eroding my vitality minute by minute. Her plan was flawless in her eyes. By dawn, my frozen corpse would be torn apart by mountain beasts, leaving no complete remains. No one would question a pitiful young lady who died of illness and was eaten by wild animals in the mountains. She would then play the grieving, virtuous stepmother, wipe fake tears for my tragic fate in front of the entire mansion, and completely take over all the legitimate property and privileges that should have belonged to me, the only direct bloodline heir of the Meng family. I twist my frozen fingers slightly, my stiff joints barely able to move. The snow piles thinly on my cheeks and eyelashes, melting into icy water that seeps into my skin, mixing with the cold sweat forced out by the poison pain. I can feel my heartbeat slowing down gradually, weakening with every passing second. My vision blurs, and the howling winter wind in the mountains turns into a buzzing roar in my ears. Death is no longer a distant threat. It is crouching right beside me, waiting quietly for my last breath. There are no human footprints within sight. Lu Ru chose this desolate valley deliberately. It is far from all villages and official roads, a place where even woodcutters never venture. It is a natural death trap for a helpless, poisoned, freezing girl. She had waited for years for this perfect chance to get rid of me without leaving a single trace of guilt or crime. Just as my consciousness is about to sink into endless darkness, a low, heavy rustle sound drifts from the dense snow-covered woods not far away. The sound of stepping on dead branches and frozen snow is extremely clear in the silent and desolate valley. My fading eyes snap into sharp focus instantly. I hold my last breath, my body tensing instinctively despite the overwhelming weakness flooding my limbs. Beasts have come, just as Lu Ru expected. A row of dark, towering silhouettes slowly emerges from the thick white snow fog. Their bodies are covered with thick, cold-resistant gray fur, their limbs sturdy and powerful, and their sharp fangs faintly reflect a cold white glow in the dim snow light. A pack of wild wolves, at least 7 or 8 in number, surround me silently in a loose circle, cutting off all possible paths of escape. Their golden, cold eyes lock firmly on my powerless body, filled with the primitive, bloodthirsty hunger of wild predators. This is the final ending Lu Ru arranged for me. Die of poison and cold first, then be devoured by wolves, leaving no evidence of her vicious conspiracy behind. The nearest young wolf takes a tentative step forward, its nose twitching rapidly as it sniffs the scent of poison and dying flesh on my body. Its body lowers slightly, muscles tensing to pounce and tear at my throat at any moment. I have no strength to struggle, no strength to run, not even the strength to lift my arm to resist. The poison has paralyzed most of my physical functions, leaving me only with a clear, sober mind to witness my own impending death. The cold wind sweeps over the snow ground, lifting the broken hair stuck to my frozen forehead. I stare straight at the wolf's approaching sharp fangs, no fear remaining in my heart, only a cold, biting hatred that burns hotter than the poison in my veins. If I survive this today, I will definitely let Lu Ru pay back every bit of this pain and humiliation tenfold. Right as the young wolf is about to leap, a deep, solemn, Low growl suddenly echoes from the depths of the woods. The sound is not violent or furious, but carries an absolute, unquestionable suppressing power. In an instant, all the surrounding wolves freeze in place without exception. The young wolf that had lowered its body to pounce immediately withdraws its forward paws, lowers its head meekly, and takes several steps back submissively. The entire pack yields in an instant, their bloodthirsty aura completely restrained. A larger, more majestic black-gray silhouette walks slowly out of the snow forest. Its shoulder height is half a head taller than all the other wolves. Its fur thick and glossy, dyed with the dark color of years of mountain wind and frost. Its golden eyes are deep and calm, without the slightest reckless hunger of ordinary beasts. This is the wolf king of the mountain forest, the absolute ruler of this wilderness territory. It walks steadily to my side, ignoring the other wolves completely. It lowers its huge head slowly, its cold wolf nose gently brushing my icy cheek, carefully sniffing the scent lingering on my body. It lingers for a long while, no aggression in its movements, only a quiet, strange scrutiny. I watch it silently, my slack pupils shrinking slightly. I have heard countless tales of ferocious man-eating wolves, but never once have I seen a wild wolf king look at a dying human with such calm, almost human-like deliberation. After a moment of observation, the wolf king lifts its head and lets out a long, low wolf howl toward the gray snowy sky. The howl echoes through the entire valley, long and distant. The surrounding pack of wolves all lower their heads in submission, their bodies trembling slightly, as if accepting some kind of supreme order. Then, under my stunned gaze, the wolf king bends its powerful front legs, gently wraps its wide, sturdy back around my limp, frail body, and lifts me up steadily and carefully. Its movements are extremely gentle, completely different from the brutal, tearing style of wild beasts. It avoids touching my poisoned and aching wounds, not letting my body bump against the rough snow or frozen branches. The bloodthirsty pack that surrounded me to kill just now automatically splits into a neat line, guarding both sides respectfully, clearing the way forward. None of them show any intention of attacking or coveting my flesh and blood anymore. The wind and snow still rage endlessly. The mountain wilderness is still deadly and desolate. But the fate of being eaten by beasts has been completely broken at this moment. The abandoned dying girl in the snow is not going to die today. The wild wolves that should have killed me have become my only guardians in this deadly frozen land. My weak vision watches the snow-covered forest path slowly recede behind me. The cold poison still erodes my internal organs, and my body is still on the verge of collapse. But a faint, blazing vitality quietly ignites in my chest. I know that from this second on, my doomed ending arranged by Luru has been completely overturned. A completely unknown wild wolf destiny is waiting for me deep in this mountain forest. Section 2. The Wolf King's gait is steady and unhurried, its broad back absorbing every jolt of the rugged mountain path while keeping my frail body perfectly balanced. I lie motionless against its thick, warm fur, the faint heat seeping through my tattered clothes to dispel a sliver of the bone-deep cold clinging to my limbs. The howling wind and swirling snow gradually fade into a distant hum as the pack escorts us deeper into the secluded heart of the mountain, far away from the desolate valley where Luru cast me aside to die. My consciousness wavers between clarity and haze, the lingering poison in my veins still gnawing at my vitality. Every so often, a sharp wave of cramping pain sweeps through my abdomen, darkening my vision, yet I force myself to stay awake, fixating on the silent procession of wolves surrounding me. None of them stray, none grow restless. They move in perfect unison, their golden eyes sharp and alert as they scan the snow-laden woods for hidden dangers, guarding me as if I were their most precious treasure rather than a foreign human girl abandoned to the wild. After traveling deeper into the mountains for roughly the time it takes to burn 2 incense sticks, the dense snow-covered pine trees thin out, revealing a massive, sheltered cliff cave half hidden by frozen vines and thick shrubbery. The mouth of the cave is wide and dry, completely shielded from the raging wind and snow, and the air inside carries a faint, earthy warmth mixed with the natural scent of wolf fur and pine resin. This is the wolf den, the undisturbed sanctuary of the mountain's dominant pack. The wolf king slows its pace before gently kneeling on its front legs, lowering its body inch by inch to set me down lightly on a bed of dry, soft hay piled in the center of the cave. Its movements are deliberate and careful, devoid of any rough animalistic haste. Once I am settled on the warm hay, it rises slowly and turns to face the waiting pack, letting out a short, commanding growl. Instantly, two lean, swift female wolves dart forward from the crowd, their postures docile and obedient. I watch them quietly, no longer feeling the terror of facing wild beasts. The old tales of ferocious, man-eating wolves taught in the Marquis Manor feel utterly hollow and false in this moment. These creatures, labeled as vicious and bloodthirsty by humans, have shown me more mercy and tenderness than my own blood relatives ever did. While the humans of the manor plotted my death, these wild beasts opened their sanctuary to save my life. One of the female wolves kneels beside me, lowering its head to nudge my frozen, chapped lips gently. Warm, rich milk seeps into my dry, burning throat the moment I part my lips. It is thick and slightly sweet, spreading a soothing warmth from my esophagus down to my cold, cramped intestines. The bitter, scorching poison fire raging in my internal organs eases faintly with every swallow, as if the pure, natural nourishment is quietly suppressing the toxic residue lingering in my veins. I drink slowly, conserving every drop of the life-giving milk. My body is too weak to swallow quickly, every muscle still stiff and unresponsive from the combined toll of poison and extreme cold. The other female wolf curls up beside my legs, its warm body pressing against my frozen calves, continuously transferring heat to thaw my numb flesh. The Wolf King stands guard at the cave entrance, its towering silhouette blocking the frigid wind that drifts in, its gaze sweeping vigilantly over the snow-covered mountain slope, alert for any approaching hunters or rival beasts that might intrude upon the den. As the warmth spreads through my body and the worst of the poison's burning agony fades, my tense nerves finally relax a little. I close my eyes briefly, sorting through the fragmented memories of the original owner, piecing together the full extent of Lu Ru's cruelty. The poisoning was never a sudden act of malice, it was a slow, calculated torture spanning 3 full years. Lu Ru had slipped mild, cumulative toxins into the original owner's daily meals and medicinal tonics, gradually weakening her body, sapping her vitality, and rendering her frail and bedridden. She had waited patiently for years, letting the world grow accustomed to the tale of a sickly, delicate young lady, so that when she finally disposed of me, no one would doubt her lies. She had played the role of the devoted, caring stepmother flawlessly in front of my father and the entire manor staff, tending to my supposed illness day and night, shedding fake tears and speaking gentle words of concern, all while slowly draining my life away, waiting for the perfect snowstorm night to erase me completely. Her patience and viciousness are far more terrifying than any wild beast lurking in these mountains. Beasts hunt for survival. She killed for greed, power, and status, hiding her blood-stained hands behind a veil of virtue and gentility. 3 days pass in quiet seclusion within the wolf den. The snowstorm outside gradually subsides, leaving the mountain world wrapped in pure white silence. The residual poison in my body is slowly purged by the wolf milk and the clean mountain air, my damaged internal organs repairing bit by bit with every passing day. I regain strength steadily, able to sit up and move my limbs freely, no longer trapped in the crippling weakness of my first night in the den. Each dawn, the Wolf King departs the den with most of the pack to hunt in the deep mountains, leaving the 2 female wolves to guard and care for me. Every dusk, the pack returns with fresh prey hares, pheasants, and occasionally young deer. The wolves never tear apart the best meat for themselves first. Instead, they bring the tenderest, leanest cuts to me, laying the clean flesh at my feet without a single growl or display of possessiveness. I learned to adapt to the wild mountain life quickly. I clean the prey meat with melted snow water and roast it over small bonfires lit from dry pine branches I gather from the cave entrance. The wolves neither interrupt or disturb me. They simply lie quietly around the fire, watching my every move with calm, intelligent eyes, as if they understand I am learning to survive on my own. The Wolf King always returns last, its massive body carrying the scent of wind, snow, and distant forests. It never presses close unnecessarily, only pauses beside me each night to nudge my palm lightly with its cold nose, as if checking that I am safe and unharmed. On the 4th day after my rescue, I discover a faint imprint beneath the layer of tattered clothing on my chest. When I lift the fabric carefully, I find a half-hidden jade token embedded against my skin. Its surface smooth and warm from years of constant contact with my body. It is carved with a lifelike ancient wolf pattern. The lines sharp and delicate, bearing the faint, solemn aura of imperial craftsmanship. This is the ancestral jade token bestowed by the late emperor upon the Ming family, the exclusive inheritance of the manor's legitimate direct descendants, a fact even I had only vaguely known from the original owner's scattered memories. In that instant, I understand everything. The Wolf King's strange restraint, the pack's obedient protection, their refusal to harm me despite my being a helpless human, none of it was random luck. This jade token is the root of their deference. An ancient covenant buried in the long history between my Ming ancestors and the mountain wolf pack. The wolves do not serve ordinary humans. They protect the legitimate bloodline of the Ming family. Bound by an old oath that has endured for generations, the realization settles deep in my chest, igniting a cold, steady resolve. Lu Ru had spent years weaving her cruel plot, thinking she had erased every trace of my existence to seize the manor for herself. But she never knew the deepest secret of the Ming family's legitimate bloodline. She never knew that when she abandoned me to the wild wolves to die, she was actually sending me into the protection of the most powerful guardians bound to my family. She threw me into despair, but inadvertently handed me the strongest power to take my revenge. I brush my fingers lightly over the carved wolf pattern on the jade token. The cool stone grounding my thoughts. The days of weak, docile, easily bullied Mangwan are gone forever. From this day forward, I do not belong to the gentle, restrained world of the Marquis Manor. I belong to the wind, the snow, and the unyielding wild mountains. I will grow sharp and strong among the wolves, temper myself into a blade hard enough to cut through all hypocrisy and evil. And one day, I will return to the manor to settle every debt Lu Ru has owed me. The Wolf King, having just returned from hunting, stands at the cave entrance watching me. Its golden eyes reflect the flickering firelight, deep and quiet, as if it can sense the rising resolve in my heart. It lets out a soft, low growl, not a command, but a silent acknowledgement and approval. The pack behind it lifts their heads one after another, their eyes no longer holding the simple tenderness of protection, but a faint, solemn respect for the legitimate heir they are bound to guard. The snowy mountain night falls again, quiet and vast. I sit beside the bonfire, surrounded by loyal wolves, my body recovering, my will sharpening. My life, stolen and discarded by human malice, has been reborn in the wild. My days of wilderness tempering have only just begun, and the road to revenge stretches clearly ahead. Spring melts the mountain snow 3 months later, washing away the thick white frost that once buried every inch of the wilderness and breathing vibrant life into the barren mountain forests. The icy cold that lingered in my bones has long vanished. The frail, sickly weakness left by years of slow poisoning and near-death freezing has been completely polished away by the harsh wild mountain wind. What replaces it is lean, taut muscle and sharp, agile physical strength that no pampered noble lady could ever possess. My once pale, delicate skin has been tanned into a warm, healthy wheat tone, stripped of the fragility nurtured by manor silk and fine food. Every inch of my flesh is carved by mountain wind, snow, and endless physical tempering, solid and powerful, hiding explosive strength beneath a calm exterior. I no longer stay confined within the safe shelter of the wolf den. Every dawn breaks before the first ray of sunlight spills over the mountain ridge, and I step out of the cave alongside the wolf pack to start day-long wilderness training. The Wolf King becomes my most rigorous and exclusive mentor. It never uses trivial movements to guide me, but teaches me survival and combat through the most primitive, brutal rules of the wild, letting me grow amid endless trial and tempering. Unlike human masters who speak tactics and teach routines, the Wolf King teaches purely through action, pressure, and life-or-death simulation, forcing me to rely on no one but myself to survive and prevail. At the beginning, I only follow the pack to learn basic tracking skills. I watch the wolves distinguish subtle traces in the mountain's broken grass stems bent by passing prey, faint layered footprints on soft soil, tiny residual scents left by fleeing beasts and blooming plants. Day after day, my senses are sharpened beyond ordinary human limits. My eyes can lock onto a fleeing hare 300 paces away, distinguishing the slight twitch of fur amid dense foliage. My ears can catch the faint rustle of beasts moving through dense leaves and dead branches even in roaring mountain winds. My nose can distinguish the overlapping scents of predators, prey, and poisonous plants in the mixed mountain air, sorting dangerous odors from harmless ones in an instant. The wilderness is never a gentle cradle but a cruel training ground that weeds out the weak and preserves the strong. When my physical strength fully recovers, the Wolf King begins to drive me into real combat training. It chases me across steep, slippery mountain slopes, forcing me to leap over jagged rock gaps and dodge piercing dead branches at extreme speed. It launches sudden feints and pounces without warning, sometimes charging heat in to crush my defenses, sometimes circling stealthily to ambush from my blind spots, making me learn to react instantly, defend, and counterattack amid life-threatening danger. There is no mercy in its training. Every pounce carries genuine killing intent, leaving me with no choice but to sharpen my reflexes and judgment to the extreme. Countless times I stumble and fall on rough rocky ground, my forearms and knees scratched and bleeding by sharp stone edges and tough brambles. Deep bloody cuts crisscross my calves and palms, scabbing over in the dry mountain air before being torn open again in the next day's brutal training. But I never retreat or pause. Every bruise, every scar, every drop of blood becomes the fuel for my growth. The pampered skin of a Marquis Manor lady fades completely, replaced by tough, resilient flesh that adapts to all harsh wild conditions. I no longer flinch from pain or fear wounds. I embrace every tempering that makes me stronger, letting the wild's cruelty grind away the last traces of my former timidity and softness. Beyond close-quarters combat and high-speed evasion, I master the most critical wild survival skill: identifying and resolving poisons. The mountain forests are filled with countless toxic weeds, poisonous mushrooms, and venomous insects that can kill in an instant. The Wolf King leads me to all hidden toxic terrains, ordering the pack to drive out venomous snakes and insects for me to observe and distinguish. I squat beside clusters of deceptively beautiful wildflowers and dull-colored earth mushrooms, memorizing their shapes, colors, vein textures, and unique faint odors. I learn to tell deadly toxins from edible wild herbs with a single glance, differentiating subtle variations that even veteran mountain hunters often miss. I also learn to refine simple antidotes using pure wild herbs, mastering the ability to detoxify most common mountain poisons. Under the Wolf King's implicit guidance, I match herb combinations, grind medicinal materials with rough stone tools, and test antidote efficacy on slightly poisoned small beasts, adjusting proportions repeatedly until each formula is precise and effective. I retained every detail of the slow poisoning Lu Ru used on the original owner, comparing its chronic symptoms, bodily erosion patterns, and latent toxicity with the toxic characteristics I learn in the mountains. And I gradually confirmed the exact types and dosage of the cumulative toxins she had secretly administered for years. This knowledge becomes my hidden weapon for revenge, letting me fully grasp every crime she has committed, down to the smallest detail. As my tracking, poisoning identification, and basic combat skills stabilize, the Wolf King elevates my training to real hunting and team coordination. It no longer lets the pack clean up prey for me, but drives me to participate in pack hunts against medium and large mountain beasts. I cooperate with the swift young wolves to outflank prey, use terrain to block escape routes, and coordinate with the pack to wear down strong, ferocious targets. I learn to judge terrain, calculate prey physical strength, seize fighting windows, and adapt flexibly to sudden battle changes, skills that no noble manner etiquette or trivial literary knowledge could ever teach me. Once, I fought alone against a wounded adult black bear that had strayed into the pack's territory. Its brute strength was enough to crush human bones with a single palm, its roar shaking the surrounding forest leaves. I did not flee. I used my agile movement to dodge its violent swipes, circled to its blind spots continuously, and struck its vital weak points repeatedly with sharpened wooden spears I crafted myself. I endured heavy blows and flying gravel, persisted through dozens of rounds of fierce confrontation, and finally brought the massive beast down with precise, lethal strikes. standing breathless beside the fallen bear, covered in sweat and dust. I felt the last trace of the cowardly manor girl vanish completely. Half a year later, I completely shed the gentle, restrained temperament of a noble lady. My posture is straight and sharp. My footsteps steady and silent, carrying the unique alertness and oppression of wild predators. I no longer walk with the delicate slowness of a pampered young lady. I move like a wolf, light, swift, and untraceable, able to approach any target silently without stirring a single blade of grass. My gaze is no longer soft and docile. It is sharp, calm, and penetrating, able to see through superficial disguises and capture the most subtle changes in others' expressions and movements. I no longer rely on the wolf pack to hunt for my survival. I can single-handedly chase down fleet-foot mountain hares, ambush alert wild pheasants, and even fight and subdue young feral boars alone. My close-quarters fighting skills are honed to perfection, without any fancy martial arts routines taught in noble manners. I possess the most lethal, practical combat techniques summed up from countless wild battles. Every strike targets vital points. Every move is for killing, clean, decisive, and unyielding. I fight to survive, to conquer, and to guard what belongs to me. And this fighting will is far more terrifying than rigidly trained martial arts. On rainy, thunderous nights when mountain beasts grow restless and violent, I follow the Wolf King to expel invading foreign predators and fight off competing wolf packs that attempt to seize territory. I endure bitter cold, torrential rain, and violent winds, running through muddy, slippery mountain roads for entire nights. I witness the brutal survival laws of the wild firsthand, where the weak are preyed upon by the strong, and only the ruthless can survive. This forges my calm, resolute character, erasing all lingering softness and indecision from my heart. No matter how chaotic or dangerous the situation, my mind remains clear. My judgment never wavers. During the quiet nights after every hunt and battle, I take out the ancient wolf-carved jade token hidden against my chest. The warm, cool jade surface always calms my restless fighting spirit. I gradually sort out the fragmented records left by my ancestors in my memory. The late emperor once granted my Ming family military power to guard the border, and the first generation of Marquis made a blood covenant with the mountain wolf pack, promising permanent mountain shelter and human protection for the wolves in exchange for the pack's eternal protection of the Ming legitimate bloodline. This was a supreme imperial covenant, binding human nobility and wild beasts with blood and honor. This ancient covenant has been buried in the passage of time. The later generations of the Ming family lived in peace and prosperity, gradually forgetting this extraordinary bond and dismissing the mountain wolves as mere ferocious beasts. Only the wolf pack guarding the deep mountains has kept the oath faithfully for hundreds of years, passing down the mission of protecting the Ming legitimate heir from generation to generation. Lu Ru, who only covets wealth and power, knows nothing of this hidden history. She foolishly thought she could easily erase the Ming family's legitimate heir with a snowstorm plot, unaware that she pushed me into the place where my family's strongest, most loyal guardians dwell. As my strength grows day by day, the respect the wolf pack holds for me deepens endlessly. No longer do they merely guard and protect me out of ancestral oath. They willingly submit to my will, recognizing me as their rightful young master. When I run through the mountains, the entire pack follows closely behind me in neat formation. When I stand on the mountain ridge overlooking the mortal world, the wolves crouch silently at my feet, forming my most loyal and powerful army. The Wolf King often walks side by side with me, its tall figure guarding my left, acknowledging my status as equal rather than a protected weak human. Autumn arrives in the mountains, with fallen leaves covering the forest ground like thick golden carpet. The wild fruits ripen, and the prey grow robust and strong, marking the end of the mountain's growing season and the arrival of the hunting season. On a clear, windless morning, I stand on the highest peak of the mountain, the wind brushing past my long loose hair and fluttering the simple rough linen clothes I have worn for half a year. Below the rolling mountain ridges, the outline of the distant mortal city gradually becomes clear. I can faintly see the towering city walls, the neat street layouts, and the distant grand outline of the Xinhua Marquis Manor that once abandoned me to death. After more than half a year of wilderness tempering, my body and will have been completely reborn. I am no longer the helpless, sickly girl who could only endure bullying and conspiracy, who coughed weakly at every turn and could not even protect herself. I am a survivor tempered by wind, snow, and blood, a legitimate Mang heir guarded by an entire wolf pack, forged by the wild's harshest trials. The hatred buried in my heart for months wakes completely with the sight of the manor's outline. Every suppressed grievance and deadly injury resurfacing clearly in my mind. I recall the cold poison medicine I was forced to drink month after month, the deliberate neglect of my daily meals, the cold stares and secret taunts of the manor servants instructed by Lu Ru, and the final freezing night when I was dragged out of the warm manor and thrown into the snow-covered wilderness. Lu Ru has spent every day since my disappearance playing the role of a heartbroken, virtuous stepmother, enjoying my legitimate status, my family wealth, and the respect that should have belonged only to me. She has lived comfortably in my place for far too long. I turn my head to look at the Wolf King standing quietly beside me. Its golden eyes meet mine, filled with thorough understanding and unwavering loyalty. It lets out a low, resonant growl, a silent declaration that it will follow me to the end, whether in the deep mountains or the mortal world. The entire pack gathered on the mountain ridge responds in unison, their clear wolf howls echoing through the entire mountain range, stirring up endless wind and echoing through every valley, shaking the quiet autumn wilderness. The time for seclusion and growth is over. The blade tempered in the wild mountains is finally sharp enough to unsheathe. It is time to go down the mountain, return to the manor that abandoned me, and tear off the hypocritical mask of Lu Ru. Every wrong I suffered, every drop of cold poison I endured, every moment of freezing despair in the snow will be repaid in full. I will no longer hide in the mountains, surviving only by the grace of wolves. I will return to the mortal world, expose all hidden crimes, overthrow the false prosperity Lu Ru has built, and take back everything that rightfully belongs to the Mang family's legitimate heir. I lift my gaze toward the distant city, my expression calm and unyielding, no trace of childish weakness left in my eyes. The wilderness forged my sharpness, the wolves granted me power, and the ancient imperial covenant endorses my right. The abandoned legitimate daughter is coming back. This time, I will not beg for mercy or endure injustice. I will take back everything that belongs to me, crush all evil schemes, and let everyone in the manor witness the terrifying power of the wolf-raised Mang Wan. The long-awaited revenge is finally about to begin. Section 4. The mountain wind fades behind me step by step as I descend the rugged forest path. I walk ahead alone, my linen robes fluttering faintly in the gentle autumn breeze, while the entire wolf pack follows silently 10 paces behind, forming a vast, orderly procession that never strays or makes a sound. The Wolf King walks at the rear of the pack, its towering figure casting a long shadow over the fallen leaf-covered ground, its golden eyes sharp and vigilant, scanning every surrounding woodland and distant ridge for potential threats. After half a year of secluded tempering in the deep mountains, this pack of wild beasts no longer merely follows me out of ancestral oath. They march at my side as my loyal, unshakable guardians, ready to tear apart any enemy who dares to stand in my way. The journey from the remote wilderness to the outer city takes an entire day. As the sun gradually dips toward the west, painting the sky in soft shades of crimson and gold, the noisy mortal world finally unfolds completely before my eyes. Pedestrians wander the official roads, farmers return from their fields with hoes slung over their shoulders, and street vendors set up stalls to sell daily goods. Ordinary people laugh and chat, immersed in their trivial, peaceful lives, completely unaware that a girl reborn from the wild mountains, accompanied by a ferocious wolf army, has stepped back into the human world they know. I halt at the foot of the mountain ridge, staring quietly at the bustling mortal scene. The scent of mortal fireworks drifts over in the wind, foreign and familiar all at once. This is the world I once belonged to, the world that cast me into death without a second thought. The gentle, refined noble Lady Mang Wan who once lived in the luxurious Jingwa Marquis Manor, who feared cold, pain, and loneliness, who endured poisoning and bullying in silence, is dead. She perished in the freezing snowstorm half a year ago, abandoned by her own family. In her place stands a wild, unyielding survivor, forged by mountain storms and bloodshed, bearing the same face but a completely different soul. I lift a hand to brush the dust off my coarse linen clothes. My movements calm and unhurried. The rough fabric, worn for half a year in the mountains, bears the traces of wind, frost, and countless battles, far plainer than the exquisite silk robes I once wore in the manor. Yet it holds a weight and dignity that no luxurious garment can match. The wolf pack stops silently behind me, every wolf crouching low to the ground, restraining their wild ferocity to avoid startling the distant mortals. Their discipline is astonishing, no different from well-trained elite soldiers, a testament to the ancient covenant that binds them to my bloodline. I continue forward alone, stepping onto the official road leading to the city gate. Ordinary passers-by glance at me curiously at first, drawn by my unique temperament, neither the delicate frailty of noble ladies nor the rustic dullness of common villagers. My gaze is too sharp, my footsteps too silent, my entire bearing carrying the cold alertness of wild predators that does not belong to the mortal world. But no one lingers to question me. The common folk hurry about their lives, unaware that this unassuming wild girl holds the fate of the entire Marquis Manor in her hands. As I approach the city gate, the stone walls towering before me grow increasingly grand and imposing. The carved city plaques, the patrolling city guards in neat armor, and the orderly flow of people entering and leaving all belong to the prosperous capital that once sheltered the hypocrisy and cruelty of Lu. Half a year is enough time for the world to forget the misfortunate sickly daughter of the Marquis. Enough time for Lu to completely reshape public opinion and bury all traces of her crime. I pass through the city gate unimpeded. The guards glance at my plain attire but make no move to stop or interrogate me. News of the Marquis's deceased daughter has long faded from daily gossip, and no one connects the wild, sharpie girl from the mountains with the frail young lady who supposedly died of illness half a year prior. I walk steadily through the bustling city streets, passing bustling tea houses, elegant silk shops, and grand official manors, my eyes sweeping over every familiar scene without the slightest fluctuation. None of this prosperity concerns me. My only destination is the Marquis Manor, the place that owes me a life-and-death reckoning. By the time I reach the entrance of the Marquis Manor, the sun has already sunk below the city walls, and twilight shrouds the grand courtyard gates. The carved wooden doors are wide open, the stone lion statues on either side tall and majestic, and the entire manor exudes an air of noble dignity and prosperity. Compared with the desolate snow valley where I was abandoned, this place is a paradise of warmth and luxury. A paradise built on my near-death suffering and Lu's bloody conspiracy. What catches my eye first is a newly erected memorial altar placed in the outer courtyard hall. White silk ribbons hang all around the hall, fluttering gently in the evening breeze, and fresh incense curls upward slowly, filling the air with a faint, solemn scent of mourning. Rows of fine tribute fruits and delicate pastries are arranged neatly on the altar table, and a wooden memorial tablet stands in the center, carved with the words "Memorial Tablet of the deceased legitimate daughter of the Marquis Mang Wan." A cluster of manor servants and female attendants stand respectfully on both sides of the hall, their heads bowed with solemn, mournful expressions. At the center of the altar, clad in an elegant plain white mourning robe, stands Lu. Her hair is simply coiled without elaborate hair ornaments, her face pale and haggard, her eyes red and swollen as if soaked in endless tears. She holds an incense stick in both hands, her shoulders trembling slightly, her posture frail and grief-stricken, perfectly portraying the image of a heartbroken stepmother who has lost her beloved daughter. Her every movement is gentle and restrained, her every expression overflowing with sorrow. She slowly bends to place the incense stick in the incense burner, then kneels on the straw mat before the altar, bowing her head in silent mourning. The surrounding servants whisper among themselves in muted, pitying tones, their voices filled with admiration for her virtue and grief for my tragic fate. Madam has not rested properly for days. All for the late young lady. Since the young lady passed away from illness, Madam has personally arranged the memorial ceremony, tending to it day and night. Such a benevolent and righteous stepmother is rarely seen in the entire capital. The young lady was frail and fated for a short life, but Madam has never once neglected her, even in death. She treats her with such sincerity. The Madam's kindness is truly boundless. The murmurs of praise drift over clearly to my ears. Standing quietly outside the courtyard gate, I watch Lu Ru's flawless performance of grief and virtue, and a cold, faint chill rises silently in my chest. Every tear she sheds is fake. Every sigh she utters is hypocritical. Every gesture of mourning is a carefully rehearsed act to fool the entire manor and the entire capital, while she kneels here pretending to grieve for me. Enjoying the reputation of a virtuous stepmother, I was struggling between life and death in the freezing snow wilderness, enduring poison erosion and bone-piercing cold, fighting wild beasts to survive. She abandoned me to die in the mountains, fabricated a false story of my fatal illness. And now she stands in my manor, mourning my supposed death, winning endless praise and respect in my name. In the past 6 months, she has completely taken over the manor's internal affairs, controlled all my father's power and household property, and lived a luxurious and dignified life that should have belonged solely to me. All of this prosperity, fame, and status is stolen, built entirely on my blood, pain, and near-death despair. Lu Ru slowly lifts her head from her kneeling posture, her eyes glistening with fake tears, her voice soft and hoarse as she speaks to the surrounding servants, her tone filled with endless regret and sorrow. It is all my fault. I failed to take good care of Wan Wan, failed to protect her from illness. If I had tended to her more carefully back then, she would not have left us so early. I have always blamed myself. Day and night, her words are gentle and remorseful, stirring deeper pity and admiration from everyone present. No one harbors the slightest doubt about her. No one knows that the so-called fatal illness was slow poison she had secretly administered for years. No one knows that the night of my supposed sudden death was the night she personally ordered me dragged into the snow wilderness to be eaten by beasts. No one knows that the person she pretends to mourn so deeply was killed with her own hands. I take a slow step forward, my light footsteps stepping on the bluestone pavement of the manor courtyard. The sound is soft yet extremely clear in the quiet, mournful courtyard. All the whispering servants fall silent in an instant, their heads turning toward me in unison, their faces filled with astonishment and confusion. No outsider is allowed to enter the inner manor during a private memorial ceremony, and no one recognizes this wild, unfamiliar girl standing at the courtyard gate. Lu Ru's body freezes slightly. She slowly lifts her head, wiping the fake tears from the corners of her eyes, her gaze turning lazily toward the source of the sound. The moment her eyes land on my face, the gentle, sorrowful expression on her face cracks completely in an instant. Her pale face drains of all color in the blink of an eye, her eyes widening in extreme shock and disbelief, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. She stares at me fixedly, her breath catching in her throat, the incense stick in her hand slipping from her fingers and clattering to the ground. For a long moment, she cannot utter a single word, trapped in the terror of seeing a person she has long buried in her heart reappear alive before her. I stand straight in the center of the courtyard, facing the entire crowd of stunned servants and the terrified Lu Ru. The evening wind blows my loose hair in coarse linen robes, carrying the wild, cold aura of the deep mountains that completely contrasts with the luxurious warmth of the manor. My gaze is calm and icy, sweeping over Lu Ru's panicked face without the slightest fluctuation. No hatred, no anger, only the quiet coldness of a judgment that is about to fall. Before anyone can recover from their shock, Low, rumbling footsteps resound from the manor entrance. One after another, large gray wolf silhouettes step steadily into the courtyard, their golden eyes cold and sharp, their powerful bodies exuding terrifying wild ferocity. The orderly pack pours into the manor like a well-trained army, surrounding the entire courtyard in an instant. The Wolf King walks in last, its towering figure casting a massive shadow, its oppressive aura suppressing every corner of the manor. Screams of terror erupt from the mouths of the servants. Everyone scrambles backward in panic, their faces deathly pale, hiding behind pillars and walls, trembling in fear. The entire grand, solemn memorial ceremony collapses completely in an instant. The fake mourning, false praise, and hypocritical grief are all shattered by the sudden arrival of me and my wolf pack. Lu stands frozen in place, her legs weak and unsteady, her eyes filled with overwhelming horror and incredulity. She thought she had erased me from the world forever. She thought I had long been torn apart by wild beasts in the Snow Valley, leaving no bones or traces behind. She never imagined that the girl she abandoned to die would return half a year later, alive and powerful, stepping back into the Marquis Manor with an entire pack of ferocious wolves at her back. I take another step forward, my voice clear, cold, and unyielding, cutting through the panicked chaos of the courtyard and echoing clearly in everyone's ears. Stepmother, you mourn my death so sincerely. Did you ever think that I would come back alive from the wilderness you abandoned me to? Section 5. My cold question hangs heavy in the twilight air, silencing every scream and tremor in the courtyard. The wind stops rustling the white silk ribbons strung across the morning hall, and the curling incense smoke freezes midair, as if even heaven and earth are holding their breath to witness this long-buried truth resurface. Every servant, maid, and steward in the yard stands rooted to the spot, their eyes locked on me in stunned disbelief, their prior pity and sorrow for the deceased young lady replaced by utter confusion and growing terror. Lu's body continues to tremble violently, her graceful and mournful facade completely shattered. The fake tears on her cheeks dry instantly, leaving behind a rigid, ashen pallor. Her red-rimmed eyes, once brimming with feigned grief, now only hold frantic panic and bone-deep fear. She staggers back half a step, her knees weakening beneath her elegant mourning robe, her hands flailing slightly as if trying to grasp the shattered pretense she has clung to for half a year. You are not her. Her voice is hoarse and shaky, devoid of its usual gentle softness, trembling so violently that each word is fragmented and unsteady. My Wanwan died of severe illness half a year ago. You are a wild mountain girl, an imposter who has snuck into the manor to deceive people. Guards, drive this imposter out at once. These wolves are ferocious beasts that endanger the capital. Kill them. She recovers her senses in an instant, clinging to the only lifeline she has left. Panicked as she is, she retains her shrewd and vicious nature. She knows full well that if my identity is confirmed, all her crimes will be laid bare for everyone to see. Thus she chooses to strike first, labeling me an imposter and branding the wolves as dangerous beasts, attempting to turn the entire manor against me and erase my return just as she erased my life half a year ago. The surrounding manor guards, though terrified by the pack of wolves lingering in the yard, hesitate for a moment at Lu's sharp command. As the acting mistress of the Xingua Marquis Manor these past 6 months, she holds absolute authority over all servants and guards. Several bold guards grip their blade hilts tightly, stepping forward tentatively, their faces pale with fear but ready to obey her orders. A low, thunderous growl rumbles from the Wolf King's throat the second the guards move. The sound carries terrifying oppressive power, sweeping across the entire courtyard in an instant. The dozens of wolves behind him raise their heads in unison, baring their sharp, gleaming fangs, their golden eyes blazing with ferocious killing intent. The brutal wild aura surging from their bodies instantly suppresses the timid courage of the mortal guards, freezing every advancing step in place. None of the guards dare move an inch further. The blades in their hands feel heavy and useless, their legs trembling uncontrollably. The gap between mortal weapons and wild beast ferocity is insurmountable, in the face of this well-trained wolf pack that has survived countless mountain battles. These ordinary manor guards are nothing but fragile paper, powerless to resist in the slightest. I stand steadily in the center of the courtyard, my expression calm and unshaken, letting Lu Ru finish her frantic accusation. I wait until the guards are frozen in fear. Until every servant's gaze is fixed intently on the confrontation. Until the entire manor falls into absolute silence. Before I speak again, my voice clear, cold, and piercing, cutting through all chaos. An imposter. I tilt my head slightly. My tone laced with icy mockery. Stepmother dares to claim I am a fake. Then tell everyone here. What illness killed me half a year ago? What medicinal prescriptions did you use to treat me? Which imperial physicians did you invite to diagnose my condition? On what exact night did I pass away? And where was my body buried? A string of precise, pointed questions crashes down on Lu Ru one after another, each word striking at the core of her false pretense. Her eyes flicker wildly, her mind scrambling for excuses. Yet she cannot utter a single complete response. All her claims of a fatal illness are fabricated empty lies with no factual basis. There were no detailed prescriptions, no attending physicians, no burial records because I never died of illness at all. She has no answers to give. No evidence to support her lies. You were suffering from chronic cold poisoning, a rare and untreatable ailment. Lu Ru grits her teeth hastily, forcing out a makeshift excuse, her forehead covered in cold sweat. The imperial physicians said your illness was incurable. Your vital organs gradually failing. You died in the middle of the night, your body weak and frail, so I buried you in the outer mountain cemetery. Cold poisoning. I interrupt her sharply, my voice turning colder. A rare untreatable illness. Or the slow-acting toxin of icy nightshade that you secretly mixed into my medicinal soup every day for 3 full years. The moment the words leave my mouth, a collective gasp ripples through the crowd of servants. I pause briefly, letting the shocking accusation sink in. Before continuing my unyielding exposition, laying out every hidden crime she thought she had buried forever. I was never born frail and sickly. 3 years ago, after you became the manor's stepmother, you began your quiet poisoning. Icy nightshade is non-toxic in small doses, accumulating silently in the human body, eroding vitality day by day. It causes weakness, dizziness, and chronic coughing. Exactly the symptoms everyone mistook for my natural poor health. No physician could detect the subtle accumulated toxin, and no one suspected the virtuous stepmother who personally fed me medicine every day. My gaze sweeps coldly over the increasingly panicked Lu Ru. Every word precise and irrefutable, piecing together the complete truth of her long-term conspiracy. You waited patiently for 3 years. You let the entire manor, the entire capital, and even my own father believe that I was a sickly, short-lived burden. You built a perfect public image for yourself as a caring, devoted stepmother who tended to me tirelessly. You endured patiently, hiding your vicious greed beneath a gentle smile, waiting for the perfect opportunity to eliminate me without bearing any guilt or suspicion. That opportunity came half a year ago, on the heaviest snow night of the year. My tone drops. Carrying the bone-chilling cold of that frozen wilderness night, the accumulated toxin in my body reached its peak, leaving me unconscious and bedridden. You seized the chance to send all personal servants away from my courtyard. Ordered your most trusted private servants to carry my unconscious body out of the manor in the dead of night, and abandon me in the desolate snow valley deep in the mountains. You did not bury me in any outer mountain cemetery. You left me naked of warm clothes, devoid of food and water, poisoned and dying, to endure freezing temperatures and wait for wild beasts to tear me apart. You wanted my body completely destroyed, leaving no trace, no evidence, no possibility of ever returning to expose your crimes. Every sentence lands like a heavy hammer, smashing every layer of Lu Ru's hypocritical disguise. The surrounding servants grow more and more shocked, their eyes widening in disbelief as they look from the trembling Lu Ru back to my calm, unyielding figure. The past 6 months of gentle care, sincere mourning, and self-reproaching regret all transform into terrifying premeditated malice in an instant. You are lying. This is all slander. Lu Ru screams shrilly, her elegant demeanor completely collapsing. Her eyes scarlet with panic and rage. You are a vengeful ghost returned from the dead to frame me. I have never poisoned you. Never abandoned you. Everyone knows how deeply I cared for you. She attempts to stir public opinion, tears finally streaming down her face in genuine frantic fear rather than fake sorrow. But this time, no one pities her. The servants glance at each other in silent shock. Their prior admiration completely vanished, replaced by cold doubt and growing horror. My words are too detailed, too logical, too consistent with the subtle abnormalities they had vaguely noticed over the years but never dared to question. I raise my right hand slowly, rolling down the coarse linen sleeve to reveal my pale forearm. Faint, dense blue-gray veins linger beneath the skin, a permanent trace left by 3 years of accumulated icy nightshade poisoning. The toxin has been mostly purged by wolf milk and mountain herb antidotes over half a year, but the residual vein discoloration can never be completely erased, serving as irrefutable physical evidence. This is the mark of 3 years of accumulated icy nightshade poisoning. No ordinary illness can leave such traces on the human body. My voice is steady and unshakable. Any skilled imperial physician can verify this in an instant. If you insist, end my slander. We can summon the capital's top physicians to confront and diagnose me publicly right now. Lu Ru's gaze falls on the faint blue veins on my arm, and her last trace of resistance crumbles completely. She knows the evidence is undeniable. Once imperial physicians are summoned, all her lies will be thoroughly exposed, and her crimes will be confirmed beyond doubt. Her body sways violently, and she nearly collapses to the ground, her hands clutching the edge of the altar table to steady herself, her face devoid of all color. I press forward step by step, not giving her a single chance to catch her breath or refute further. You spent 3 years poisoning me, half a year faking my death, and every single day since then you have occupied my manor's power, embezzled my legitimate dowry and family property, and enjoyed the status and wealth that should belong solely to the Meng family's legitimate heir. You stand here mourning me falsely, winning a virtuous reputation on the surface, while your hands are stained with my blood and suffering beneath. You thought your plan was flawless. You thought the snowstorm would bury all secrets, and the wild beasts would erase all evidence. But you never expected that the wilderness you abandoned me to would become my salvation. The beasts you hoped would devour me have become my guardians. At this moment, hurried footsteps sound from the manor entrance. The master of the Jinhua Marquis Manor, Meng Yuan, rushes into the courtyard with a group of attendants, his face dark and solemn. He had been handling official affairs outside the manor and only received word of the chaotic commotion in the inner courtyard moments ago. His sharp gaze sweeps over the surrounding wolves, the scattered mourning altar, the panicked servants, and finally locks onto the ashen-faced Lu Ru and my unyielding figure. What is happening here? Meng Yuan's deep voice carries the dignity of a marquis, suppressing the remaining chaos in the courtyard. Lu Ru's eyes instantly well up with tears of desperate grievance. She staggers toward him, intending to throw herself into his arms and plead innocence, continuing her years of pretense as a wronged and virtuous wife. I speak before she can utter a single word of grievance, my voice clear and audible to every corner of the courtyard, reaching Meng Yuan's ears unobstructed. Father, your daughter Meng Yuan is not dead. I have returned alive, and your beloved wife, Lu Ru, is the one who poisoned me for years and abandoned me to die in the snowy wilderness. Section 6. Meng Yuan's towering figure freezes the moment my words land. His sharp marquis gaze flicks first to my unfamiliar wild attire, then to the pack of silent, vigilant wolves surrounding the courtyard, and finally locks on Lu Ru's deathly pale face. 4 years. He has trusted his second wife completely, believing her to be gentle, virtuous, and endlessly devoted to the household and his only daughter. The accusation of long-term poisoning and deliberate abandonment strikes him like a heavy blow, stirring shock, disbelief, and simmering rage in his chest. Lu Ru bursts into desperate, hysterical tears the second she meets Meng Yuan's eyes. She throws aside all remaining dignity, falling to her knees on the cold bluestone ground, her body trembling violently. My lord, this is slander. This girl is delusional and vengeful, framing me out of nowhere. I have served the manor diligently for years, treated Wanwan as my own flesh and blood, and wept for her day and night after her passing. How could I ever harm her? Please do not be deceived by this impostor. She kowtows repeatedly, forehead brushing the ground, putting on a perfect show of aggrieved innocence, clinging to the years of accumulated goodwill to reverse the situation. The surrounding servants hold their breath, watching the confrontation with bated breath. The balance of doubt wavers once more. Without solid, undeniable proof, a stepmother's lifelong reputation could easily overturn a stranger's verbal accusation. Even with the strange wolf pack standing in my favor, Meng Yuan's expression darkens further, his gaze sharp and authoritative. Wan died half a year ago. The entire manor witnessed her frail condition and sudden passing. If you are truly my daughter, what proof do you bear? He does not blindly favor Lu Ru, nor does he accept my words outright. As a marquis who has held official power for decades, he only recognizes tangible evidence, a calm judgment that leaves no room for emotional bias. I lift my hand slowly, reaching beneath my coarse linen robes to draw out the ancient wolf-carved jade token that has rested against my chest for half a year. The moment the jade slips into the twilight light, a faint, noble golden glow ripples across its surface, crisp and sacred, carrying the unique carving marks and imperial aura of the late emperor's era. The lifelike wolf pattern on the token seems to awaken faintly, vivid and imposing. This is the ancestral military jade token bestowed by the late emperor upon the first generation of Jingguo Marquis. I hold the token aloft steadily, my voice calm and unshakable, echoing across the silent courtyard. It is exclusive to the direct legitimate bloodline of the Meng family. No concubine, no step-family member, no outsider can possess or activate it. Lu Ru, can you produce this token? Can any other person in this manor awaken its power? The second the jade token is exposed, the wolf king at the courtyard gate lifts its massive head and lets out a long, reverent low howl. Every wolf in the pack immediately crouches lower, their fierce golden eyes softening into utter submission and loyalty, their entire bodies tensed in solemn veneration. This is the ancient oath engraved in their blood, the instinctive surrender to the Meng legitimate heir and the imperial covenant token. Meng Yuan's pupils contract sharply the instant he sees the jade token. He strides forward hurriedly, his eyes fixed on the wolf-carved jade, his breathing unsteady. He has seen this token only once in his youth, preserved in the ancestral hall as the most precious treasure of the Meng family. The symbol of military authority and ancestral covenant that has been passed down for centuries. Only the direct legitimate heir can carry and awaken it. No impostor could ever possess such a sacred artifact. The wolf covenant, Meng Yuan mutters in a low, trembling voice. Long-forgotten ancestral records flooding back to his mind. The first marquis made a blood oath with the mountain wolf pack, granting them mountain sanctuary in exchange for eternal protection of the Meng legitimate bloodline. The wolf pack only obeys the holder of this jade token. The truth crashes over everyone in the courtyard like a tidal wave. All the confusion and doubt dissipates completely in an instant. He reasoned, the ferocious wolves do not harm me. The reason they obey my every move is not random coincidence, it is an ancestral oath that has stood for hundreds of years. Lu Ru did not save a dying girl or grieve for a lost child. She drove her legitimate stepdaughter into the sworn protection of the mountain wolves, inadvertently nurturing the very person who would expose and overthrow her. Lu Ru stares at the glowing jade token in my hand, her last sliver of hope completely shattered. Her body goes limp, collapsing fully on the ground, her tears freezing on her cheeks, her eyes filled with endless despair and terror. She finally understands that she has never stood a chance. She fought against the Meng family's ancestral oath, against the late emperor's imperial token, against a daughter reborn from the wild with a loyal wolf army at her back. All her schemes were nothing but futile farce. For 3 years, you poisoned my blood. For half a year, you stole my status, my property, and my reputation. I walk slowly toward her, my gaze cold and merciless, no trace of softness left. You pretended to be a virtuous mother, deceived the entire manor and the capital, and attempted to bury me in the wilderness to cover your crimes. Your guilt is undeniable, your evidence conclusive. I turn to face Meng Yuan, my tone steady and resolute. Father, As the legitimate heir of the Mang family and the holder of the imperial military token, I request the immediate dismissal of Lu Ru from the Manor genealogy. She has committed the unforgivable crime of harming the legitimate bloodline, embezzling ancestral property, and falsifying mortal crimes. She deserves no place in the Xinguo Marquis Manor. Meng Yuan's face is filled with deep remorse and towering rage. He stares at the cringing Lu Ru, all his past trust and affection turning to icy disgust. He raises his hand sharply and delivers his verdict in a stern, unyielding tone. Lu Ru, you are vicious and hypocritical, cruel and unscrupulous. From this day forth, you are expelled from the Xinguo Marquis Manor. Stripped of all madam titles and privileges, all your personal property is confiscated, and you shall be exiled from the capital forever, never to return. The servants gasped softly, but no one dares to plead for mercy. Lu Ru's years of pretense are thoroughly ruined. Her virtuous reputation crushed to dust in an instant. She wails hoarsely, struggling to beg for forgiveness, but the guards step forward immediately and drag her away. Her desperate cries fading as she is removed from the courtyard she once ruled over. The white silk mourning ribbons flutter down from the eaves. The false altar is completely dismantled, and the lingering sorrow in the courtyard dissipates without a trace. I stand in the center of the manor, the ancient jade token in my hand, the loyal wolf pack guarding my side, the wild aura tempered by half a year of mountain trials lingering around me. The weak, sickly Meng one who endured bullying and poisoning in silence is gone forever. In her place stands the rightful mistress of the Xinguo Marquis Manor. Powerful, decisive, and unyielding, Meng Yuan walks to my side, his gaze filled with guilt and relief. He opens his mouth to speak, but I simply lift the jade token slightly, my gaze sweeping over the entire grand manor. From this moment on, I hold the ancestral covenant, the imperial military authority, and absolute control over the Mang family. The wilderness forged my strength, the wolves guarded my life, and I have finally reclaimed everything that belongs to me. No one will ever dare to deceive, bully, or abandon me again. My new life of supreme authority and unshakable power has just begun. End. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Thank you.